Hi everyone, welcome to the third webinar of a series of 4 webinars conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming operational case study examinations happening in November and November 2022 and February 2023. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor for OCS at TCS. So in this session, I'm gonna talk about answering technique, an important area which you need to get right if you are to pass the exam. And having said that, let me also invite you guys to watch the recorded versions of the first 2 webinars which we conducted. If by any chance you were not able to attend the said webinars, the recorded versions can be accessed via our website under the free content. And on top of that, we have shared the 6-week study plan with you, and that is uploaded onto our website as well. So having said that, let's try to figure out the session outcomes for tonight. So first things first, I'll be highlighting answering technique, and I will also be talking about how to manage your time appropriately. And as the third part of today's webinar, I'll be discussing the answer of a mini mock, and based on this mini mock, I'll be highlighting how to develop answer plans, and based on this mini mock, I'll be highlighting what you need to do when it comes to managing your time. So I'll be covering the theoretical components focused on the answering technique and the time management technique, and I'll be practically showing you guys how to do the answering technique and time management technique in a practical sense by referring to referring to the mini mock and its suggested answer. And at the very end of tonight's session, I'll be talking about what you need to do to bounce back from failure. So there could be students who are part and parcel of this webinar who had not cleared the previous sitting or any other sitting or, with regards to OCS. So I'll be highlighting what you need to do to pass the exam in this sitting. Okay, so having said that, before we proceed with tonight's webinar, let me talk about the schedule. So the first 2 webinars are already done, 6-week study plan and pre-scene analysis, and we are in the third week. And in tonight's session, I'll be talking about answering technique. And the next session is going to happen on the 15th of Saturday, which is 2 weeks later, where I'll be highlighting about exam preparation. I'll be as part of this, the 4th webinar, I'll be talking about what you need to do to develop confidence and to maintain the same level of confidence when you are facing the exam. So what are you supposed to do before the exam and during the exam? I'll be highlighting these areas as part of webinar number 4. So let me take you through the study plan. So we are in the second week. So the second week spans from the 1st of October to the 8th of October. So in the second week, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to refer to theory recap slides pertaining to E1, F1 and P1, because as I've highlighted earlier in webinar number 2, as well as webinar number 1, they are at the OCS level, theories are heavily tested. Decision making is extremely limited. So because you are playing the role of a finance officer who is at the lowest level of the organization. So in such a context, you need to know your theories appropriately. So that's exactly why you need to refer to the theory recap slides pertaining to E1, F1 and P1 within this week before you start attempting your first mock. Okay, so after doing that, you are supposed to watch the recorded version of the OCS webinar 3 answering technique. If by any chance you missed out on the live session, then before attempting any mocks, you are supposed to refer to the video and get an understanding about what you need to get right when it comes to developing answer plans and when it comes to managing your time at the exam. After doing that, you are supposed to attempt mock number 1 under simulated exam conditions. So what is a simulated exam condition? That's a scenario where you need to attempt the mock 3 hours at a stretch. You are not supposed to break it down into several parts, do one task today and attempt the second task tomorrow. You are not supposed to do that. You need to get accustomed to the exam situation or the environment which you would face at the real exam. So in order to do that, what you need to do is you need to attempt mock number 1 under simulated exam conditions. You need to find 3 hours, allocate 3 hours of your time and sit in one place away from any type of distraction. Find an isolated area and sit in one place and attempt the entire mock, taking 3 hours of your time. Then you would understand whether you are in a position to manage your time appropriately, whether your answer planning technique is working or not. So that's exactly why I want you to attempt mock number 1 under simulated exam conditions. And after attempting mock number 1, I want you to develop answer plans based on the suggested answers of mock 1. So I'll be highlighting how to do it in tonight's webinar. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to do within this week. I hope that you have finished all or completed all these tasks by now. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to do in this week, which is the second week. All right, so let's look at the answering technique. Okay, so when providing answers, you are supposed to provide or come up with appropriate headings and subheadings. Okay, so as you would see when I'm discussing the mini mock in a typical CIMA paper, under each task you would have 2 or 3 subtasks. So there are 4 tasks in total in the entire paper, and under each task you would see 2 or 3 subtasks. Let's assume there is a task and there are 3 subtasks under the same task. Okay, if there are 3 subtasks, then you need to come up with 3 main headings, and these headings needs to be in bold and underlined format. So remember these things. So if there are 3 subtasks, for each subtask, you need to come up with main heading, and each main heading needs to be in bold and underlined format. And under that, if you feel that you need to further divide the answer, then you can use subheadings. And if you are using a subheading, it needs to be in bold format. Okay, so that's that. And when providing answers, you are supposed to provide answers in paragraphs, which consists of 2 to 4 sentences, nothing more, nothing less. So the CIMA examiner specifically mentions that you are not supposed to provide single-lined sentences as answers, or you are not supposed to provide answers in bullet points. Instead, every time you are providing an answer, you need to develop a paragraph, and a paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 lines of 2 to 4 lined answers. Okay, and let's assume you are trying to bring about 9 answer points. In such a context, you need to have 9 paragraphs in your answer. So why am I asking you to develop your answers in paragraphs? Because that's exactly what the CIMA examiner is telling you to do. And on top of that, when it comes to marking your paper, the invigilators will find it extremely easy to figure out what you had written in your answer. So let's assume you do not separate paragraphs, but write your entire answer in one single paragraph. So in such a context, the invigilator will have to fish for information. So rather than fishing for information, if you divide your answer into several paragraphs, then the invigilator can directly spot how many answer points you have mentioned. They can easily read through your answers. Then there's a positive attitude in the mind of the invigilator, because his or her job had become easier, because you are you have provided answers in sentences. So in such a context, you end up getting better marks. So it's better to be invigilator friendly rather than sticking to your own method of providing answers. So what I'm trying to stipulate here is you need to stick to the guidelines provided by the examiner. And if you stick to the guidelines provided by the examiner, you would be providing invigilator friendly answers then your chances of passing the exam slightly increases. It's good to be on the good books of the invigilator because you'd get 2 or 3 additional marks. Okay, so that's that. And when it comes to the word count, so many students are extremely interested to know about the word count. Ideally, the word limit is somewhere around 650 to 700 words per 45-minute task. So as I highlighted earlier, there are 4 tasks in a typical 3-hour paper. And for each task, you need to come up with an answer which consists of 650 to 700 words. So all in all, in your entire paper, your word count needs to be somewhere around 2,800 words. Okay. And don't worry too much about the word count. Why I'm stipulating a word count is so that you know whether your answers are too long or too short. Okay. Having said that, you are always getting marks based on the quality of your answers, not based on the quantity. Just because you have you come up with an answer which consists of 700 words per task, you're not going to get marks if the quality of your answer is lacking, if you have failed to address the needs which are stipulated in the question. So I'll highlight how to do it later on. And when it comes to developing an answer, 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards reading and planning the answer, and 2/3 of the time should be allocated towards typing the answer. So per each task, you are allocated 45 minutes. So 1/3 of the task, 1/3 of the time, something like 15 minutes to 20 minutes, should be allocated towards reading the question. And after reading the question, you have to develop an answer plan or an answer structure. I'll highlight how to do it later on. Okay, so you need to allocate something like 20 minutes towards developing an answer plan, reading the question and developing an answer plan. And the remaining 25 minutes should be allocated towards typing the answer. If you practice this when practicing the 5 mock exams, then you would find it extremely easy to manage your time at the real exam. And on top of that, you would come up with, when you spend some time to plan the answer, the quality of your answers will significantly improve. And looking at the typing speed, the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. If you feel that your typing speed is not up to standard, there are so many software out there, and you can simply use typing platforms or typing, or you can attempt typing games on Google. By doing these things, you can improve your typing speed. And the examiner has determined the mark allocation for each subtask based on the weightages provided. So the examiner would provide weightages under each and every question. So that's exactly what you can see here. So as you can see, this is how a typical paper would look like. So you can see some weightage provided. Subtask A, the weightage is 30%. Subtask B, the weightage is 40%, and subtask C, the weightage is 30%. So based on this weightage, you can determine how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask. So for each task, a total mark allocation of 37.5 marks are allocated per task. So this weightage stipulates that 30% of 37.5 marks, or something like 11 marks, are allocated for the first subtask. So when you know that 11 marks are allocated for the first subtask, you have to come up with an answer. Usually one answer point carries something like 1.5 points or 2 points. So at least you need to have 6 or 7 specific points, answer points in your answer. If not, you're not in a position to gain the full marks allocated for this subtask. So based on these weightages, you can determine how many marks are allocated. Based on the mark allocation, you can identify how many answer points you need to have in your answer, or how many answer points need to be covered in your answer. Okay, so that's how weightages should be considered. And do not spend time on formatting such as paragraph alignment and whatnot, because that's not necessary. You're not getting any marks for that. And remember, it's always about the quality of the points, not the quantity. So the examiner gives you marks not based on your word count. Instead, the examiner gives you marks based on the number of answer points which you have mentioned, and all these answer points which you have mentioned should be relevant to the requirement which is highlighted as part of the question. Okay, so you might be thinking as to why I was talking about a word limit. Why I said this was so that you can have a general level of idea about the length of your answer. Even if you provide answers which goes for more than 700 words, or which are lesser than 650 words, that's totally fine, as long as you are covering the answer points. Okay, so that's the answering technique which you need to adhere to. Before we move forward, any questions, guys? Any questions about these points which I highlighted? I know this would be bad practice, but if you're running out of time, will bullet points be marked still, or will it be dismissed? The examiner, Alex, that's a good question, I should say. The examiner specifically mentions or asks students not to provide answers in bullet points, or not to provide singles and lined answers. So just because you mention the bullet points, you are not going to get marks. You are supposed to provide answers in paragraphs. So you will be exposed to this type of an issue if you run out of time, as you yourself have stipulated. So you won't run out of time if you stick to this answering technique which I'm highlighting. So when you're attempting your first 2 mocks, you would find it hard to reap the benefits. You won't see you won't find it easy to replicate the same methodology whilst sticking to the stipulated time period. But with practice, you can perfect this answering technique. And just attempting 5 mocks would help you to perfect this technique, and you would find it extremely easy to manage your time and come up with high quality answers at the real exam. Why? Because you are spending some time to plan your answers. Because usually what happens is, I've come across hordes of students, when it comes to providing an answer, what they do is they read the question, and they are in a rush, because they know in the back of their minds that this is a time pressured exam. So they rush it through reading the question. So there's a tendency to miss out important points. And on top of that, right after reading the question, students start typing the answer. So halfway through the answer, you realize that you are headed in the wrong direction. The requirement stipulates you to talk about how to implement activity-based costing, but you are talking about the pros and cons of activity-based costing. So you are providing an answer which is not aligned to the requirements of the task. So halfway through, you realize it, you end up deleting the answer. That leads to panic. Then you run out of time. Okay, so rather than doing that, what I'm suggesting you guys to do is take about 5 minutes to read the question, and based on that, spend about 15 minutes to plan the answer. So you are not typing anything, instead you are planning the answer. And once you have a plan, typing is extremely easy. Once you have an answer structure, it's a matter of fleshing out the skeleton. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do. I hope I addressed your concern, Alex. Okay, all right, superb. Any other questions, guys, before we move forward? Any other questions? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm moving forward. Okay, so let's look at what you're supposed to do when developing answers. First things first, you are supposed to read the scenario. You are not supposed to rush through it. I'm saying that you can allocate something like 5 minutes to do it. Why? Because it's of utmost importance that you identify the exact requirement. If not, you would end up providing a wrong answer. Okay, so after reading the scenario, you are supposed to plot the requirements into subheadings. So, as per this paper, this has 3 subtasks for, and as I told you earlier, per subtask, you need to come up with headings and subheadings. So since there are 3 subtasks in task number 1, since there are 3 subtasks, you need to come up with 3 main headings, and main headings should be bold and in bold and underlined format. Okay, so plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. So you know that there are 3 subtasks, so you need to have 3 main headings. So after doing that, invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So visit back to the question and read the requirement clearly, because in a single requirement, you might have 2 or 3 subsections, or the requirement could be divided into 2 or 3 requirements. Okay, so in order to understand that, you need to invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So after understanding the requirement, you are supposed to plan the answer first. You are not supposed to start typing the answer. Instead, you have to plan the answer first. So 15 minutes of your time should be allocated towards it. So 5 minutes for reading, 15 minutes for planning the answer. And when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself, not on the scratch pad. So, when you are attempting your, exams, there is something called a scratch pad, which is available to you. So most students, when they are, developing an answer plan, they try to do it on a scratch pad. Don't do it. Do your answer plan or develop your answer plan on the answer screen itself. Why am I asking you to do it? Because once you have the answer plan on the answer screen itself, it's easier for you to flesh out the answer points and, develop paragraphs on each and every point which you have stipulated. Or else, if you come up with the answer plan on the scratch pad, when you are developing the answer, there is a tendency to miss out certain points. So when you develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself, you won't miss out on any of the points. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do. Just leave the scratch pad aside, don't do anything on it. Okay, then expand the points in the answer plan. So once you have bullet points, or once you have come up with points, answer points, then when it comes to typing, it's a matter of expanding each and every point. So when you have an understanding about what you are supposed to stipulate in the answer, then it becomes easier for you to expand the answer. So your answer plan should ideally look like something like this. Okay, I'll be explaining these things later on. So this is what I'm talking about. So you take 5 minutes to read the question. So after reading the question, you understand what you're supposed to do. I've mentioned these things. I'll be explaining these things in depth, nothing to worry. Okay, so you're supposed to take 5 minutes to read the question and understand the requirements. After plotting down the requirements, for each and every subtask, you are supposed to develop a main heading 1, main heading 2, and main heading 3. And under each and every heading, you are supposed to come up with an answer plan. So an answer plan is something which is extremely short. So this is a structure at your disposal. And once you have the structure, it's a matter of just expanding each and every point and providing answers in paragraphs. So if you stick to this process, you'd save a lot of time. There's absolutely nothing to worry, and the quality of your answers will improve extremely as well. Okay, so that's what we're supposed to do. Then when it comes to pre-scene application, what is the right approach? You need to know your key information. How do you get to know the key information? By going through our annotated pre-scene, because I've summarized all the relevant information via the annotated pre-scene. And on top of that, we provide 4 pre-scene analysis videos, which are extremely where I've carried out an extreme analysis based on all the information provided within the pre-scene. So once you watch these 4 videos, you'd know all the main information about the company, its industry, as well as the financial statements. So knowing your key information becomes easy after going through the 4 videos and referring to the annotated pre-scene which we are providing. And when it comes to numbers, remember the key ratios. You need not remember each and every ratio, just have a general understanding about the profitability, the liquidity within the company, the capital structure, as well as the efficiency or activity related ratios within the company. You need not remember anything, just have a general level of understanding. In order to get this level of understanding, you are simply supposed to refer to our financial analysis slides, where all the information has been provided in a crisp manner, so that it's easier for you to remember the most important points. And prepare for possible scenarios, but be open-minded. And remember that the scenario which is presented in the exam carries the latest information. Okay, so that's that. And how are you supposed to refer to pre-scene information in your answers? Always think about quality. Try to figure out, whenever you are bringing in information from the pre-scene, try to figure out whether it adds value to your answer or not. Remember that you are playing the role of a finance officer, so you need not have too much information about the company and the industry. So even if you do not bring in any information from the pre-scene, your chances of passing is high, because that level of understanding is not expected at this level, at the operational level. So even if you do not bring in information from the pre-scene, that's okay. As long as you have addressed the needs of the task, you end up getting a pass. Okay. Some students, what they do is they try to show the invigilator that they have studied the pre-scene. Because of that, they just bring generic information which are not relevant to the requirement at hand. Just because you bring in some information from the pre-scene, you're not gonna get marks. Okay, so please be mindful about it. And in order to understand how to bring in information from the pre-scene, refer to the suggested answers of mock exams. Then you'd understand how to do this. All right, so let's move on to the mini mock. So I'm gonna base my discussion, or I'll show you how to do an answer plan based on the mini mock, and you can access this mini mock via our website under the free content. So in a typical paper, as I highlighted earlier, you would get 4 tasks, but since this is a mini mock, there are only 2 tasks, and under task number 1, the time allocation is 45 minutes, and there are 3 subtasks in total. And in task number 2, again, the time allocation is 45 minutes, and there are 3 subtasks in total. And the mark allocations can be determined by looking at the weightages provided. Okay, so according to what I highlighted, first things first, you are supposed to read the question. So section number 1, a 45-minute question. Let me expand this further. All right. Okay. So section number 1, a 45-minute question. Today is the 1st of December 2022, and FireWorks has carried out a quarterly performance review. So these guys had carried out a quarterly performance review. You received the following email from your finance manager. So your finance manager is Savita Sharma. You are getting your role is you are playing the role of a finance officer, and there's a subject. So this question covers these areas: training and development, budgeting, and relevant costing. Okay, we have decided to launch a special training and development session for our packaging employees to enhance the quality of our operations. So these guys are planning to conduct a training and development session for packaging employees. What's the objective of doing it? To enhance the quality of packaging operations. Okay. In line with this initiative, Marvis Jones, the production director, asked me to do a presentation on the training and development program, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, all that information is there. So what's your first requirement? Could you please draft me a report on the steps which we need to follow in our training and development program? Okay, so you need to stipulate what we need to do when developing a training and development program. Okay, so for that subtask, you are allocated 30%, a weightage of 30%. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? First things first, as I highlighted earlier, give me a second, please. Yeah, so first things first, you are supposed to understand the requirement clearly. So you are supposed to read the question and understand the requirement. So what is the requirement? Steps in training and development. So I'm not asking you to, provide extremely long, when you are developing the structure, don't provide extremely long sentences. Keep it simple. Just the main points needs to be stipulated, because you're not supposed to spend a lot of time typing the answer plan. So keep it simple. So I've kept it simple. What am I supposed to highlight as part of the first subtask of the question? I'm supposed to highlight the steps in developing a training and development program. So I've said steps in T&D. I've kept it simple. Okay. So I said, based on the weightage, we can stipulate or determine how many marks are allocated. So for each main task, each 45-minute task, the mark allocation is 37.5 marks. Okay, total mark allocation is 37.5 marks per task. So if 37.5 marks are allocated for a 45-minute question, 30% of it is 11 marks. So for highlighting the steps in the training and development program, you will get 11 marks. So in order to get 11 marks, you need to come up with at least 6 or 7 valid points. Okay, so right. So let's look at the answer plan for the first part, training and development stages. That's the main heading. I've highlighted it. I've used the bold and underlined format as per the guidelines provided by the CIMA examiner. Okay. Then after that, I start developing the answer. First things first, when developing a training and development session, you need to identify the training needs. That's the first step which you need to take. So identify training needs. And when identifying the training needs, we have to understand the issues which we are facing at present. Because a training session is carried out to overcome issues which the company is facing at present. Okay, so I've highlighted that based on issues faced at present. After identifying the training needs, you are supposed to stipulate the training and development objectives. So objectives will stipulate what we are trying to achieve. So what are we trying to achieve? According to the question, according to the question, we are trying to enhance the quality of our packaging operations. So that's what we are trying to achieve, based on achieving efficiency in packaging. So when developing the T&D objectives, it needs to be based on achieving efficiency in packaging. And at all times, objectives need to fulfill the SMART characteristics. Okay, so the second step is done. We are moving on to the third step. Third step is about, once we have a T&D object, once we have stipulated the training and development objectives, we need to plan the training and development process. Okay, so as part of the plan, we have to stipulate the training methods. Are we going to go for formal training or informal training? Where are we going to conduct the training? Is it going to be inside within our packaging operations itself, or are we going to get these guys to come to some other location? What type of a budget are we allocating? What type of trainers are we using? Based on that, how much are we supposed to pay to these pay these trainers? Okay, based on the location. If it's done on site, then the costs will be less. But if we are going out of the packaging facility, then we'd have to pay for the training facility. Okay, so likewise, we need to come up with a budget. So all these things come under the planning stage. So after we had planned the training and development process, then it's about delivery and implementation. So we have to implement the plan. We have to carry out the training. So when it comes to delivery, are we going to go for in-house delivery, or are we going to get external help, or are we going to conduct our training session in an external location? And whilst delivering the training, we have to consider whether we are achieving the training and development objectives. Because I personally have been in training sessions where we start with, stipulating the training and development objectives, but halfway through, we are headed in the wrong direction. We forget about the training and development objectives. So we have to always constantly keep checking whether we are aligned. Any type of activity which we are conducting is aligned with the T&D objectives which we stipulated earlier. Okay, then after the training is done, we have to carry out an evaluation, thereby seeking feedback from trainers as well as attendees to figure out whether the training and development session made sense or not. Okay, we have to check with the attendees to figure out whether the trainers did their job properly, and we have to listen to the trainers or get feedback from the trainers to figure out whether the attendees were interested in what was carried out, whether these guys, whether the trainees or the attendees listened to what the trainers had to say and what not. Okay, so these are the areas which you need to cover when developing a training and development process. So this is an E1 related area, highly theoretical area. You might have learned something called the training, cycle. So this is a highly theoretical area. Without mentioning the name of the theory, you are supposed to apply your knowledge. So when applying, you need to do it in a practical manner. So this is the answer plan for subtask number 1. You are supposed to stipulate the steps in training and development. Let's go back to the question. You are supposed to stipulate the steps which we need to follow in our training and development program. So that's exactly what I've mentioned in here. First things first, you need to identify training needs based on the issues faced at present. Stipulate the T&D objectives. What is our objective? To increase the efficiency in packaging, and our objectives need to be SMART. Then you have to plan the training and development process. You need to stipulate beforehand the training methods, the location, and the budgets. Then when it comes to delivery of the training session, you need to consider whether we are going for in-house training or external training. And at all times, you need to keep track of whether we are achieving the training and development objectives. And at the end of the training and development session, after the session is done, you have to evaluate the performance, therefore seek feedback from trainers and attendees. Okay, so that's your answer plan. Okay, once you have the answer plan, it's a matter of typing the answer. So when it comes to typing the answer, stages to be followed to carry out a training and development program, and under each under this main heading, I've come up with subheadings. Subheading number 1 is identifying training and development needs. Identifying training and development needs. Subheading number 2 is setting training and development objectives, T&D objectives. Number 3 is planning the training and development session, planning. Okay, so this is what we come up with, a skeleton. And once we have a skeleton, utilizing the 20 minutes remaining, we flesh out the skeleton, thereby provide answers in paragraphs rather than in bullet points. So once you spend some time to develop a structure, answer structure or plan like this, you are spending some time to think, because the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So in a real life corporate environment, if you receive an email from your finance manager, you won't start typing the response. Instead, you'll spend some time, you'll come up with a structure, you'll plan your response, and after planning only, you'd type your response. So you need to do the same thing in here. Plan your answer, spend some time to think, because when you think, the quality of your answers will improve significantly. Don't, because anybody would be stressed out at the real exam. So when you are stressed out, right after reading the question, if you start typing answers, you would be headed in the wrong direction. Instead, if you stick to something like this, it will help you relax. You'd spend some time to sit back and think. And after you had planned the answer, then you can move on towards typing the answer. So that's the first area. Okay, then let's move on to the second subtask. So what you're supposed to do is you read the first subtask or the question pertaining to the first subtask, then you develop something like this. Then you develop the answer plan for the first subtask. So that's done. You are not supposed to type your answer still. Then you are supposed to move on to the second subtask. Further, during the board meeting, there was a discussion regarding different budgeting styles and the level of people involvement within the budgetary process. So the second subtask is about budgeting styles and the people involvement in budgetary process. Okay. So what is the requirement? You are supposed to explain about the benefits and drawbacks of the imposed and participative budgeting styles. So you are supposed to highlight or explain the benefits and drawbacks of the imposed and participative budgeting styles. Okay. So I've come up with a heading, budgeting styles. So first, let me show you what I've stipulated the question in here. Pros and cons, imposed versus participative. So in simple terms, I've stipulated what the requirement is. Pros and cons, imposed versus participative. Then what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to stipulate how many marks are allocated for this question. 40% of 37.5 is 15.5 marks. So at least you need to have 7 or 8 valid points in your answer in order to get or gain 15.5 marks. Okay, so pros and cons of imposed versus participative budgeting. So first things first, it's better to start your answer by defining what budgeting is. So I've said define budgeting. So you are reminded when it comes to the point where you are supposed to type your answer, you are reminded that you are supposed to start the answer by defining budgeting. Okay, so keep it simple. Then I've come up with a subheading, imposed style. You have to first define it. Then the pros or the advantages of it, less time consuming. So imposed style of budgeting is known as a top-down approach. So that's a scenario where the head office sets the budget and everybody else is supposed to follow the budget. That's the exact type of budgeting which we have at FireWorks, which is our company. Okay, so that's how pre-scene application comes in. So you need to know that the type of budgeting within FireWorks is a top-down approach or an imposed approach. Then in such a context, you can mention it on the question. Okay, so imposed style, what are the pros? Less time consuming because the head office is generating the budget. Nobody else is involved with the budget setting process, so you can get it done extremely fast, and that leads to faster decision making rather than getting so many people involved with the budgeting process. Only a limited number of people, ideally people who are located within the finance function, will develop budgets, so that leads to faster decision making. Another advantage, then users expertise of capable managers. And these capable managers we are using expertise of people who know about budgeting. So since these capable managers are involved with the budget setting process, they would have an overall view of business. So that's a beneficial that's a benefit which we can achieve by going for an imposed style of budgeting. What are the drawbacks? So I've mentioned it as cons. Can't access local knowledge. Yes, the head office is stipulating the budget. People who are involved with the day-to-day operations of the company will know about the type of customers they are dealing with, the type of suppliers we are dealing with, but we are not listening to their opinions. So we can't access local knowledge when we go for an imposed style of budgeting. Demotivates low-level employees or managers. When low-level employees or managers know that their concerns were not considered when setting the budget, when they know that the head office has imposed a budget without their participation, without even asking any questions from them, that leads to demotivation. That's a disadvantage of an imposed budget. And there could be resistance in implementation when the head office is trying to impose a budget on you. You might resist it because your targets are based on a budget which is prepared by somebody else in the head office who is clueless about what happens within the company on a daily basis. So these are the drawbacks. So after that, I'm moving on to participative budgeting. Why? Because that's the requirement. Pros and cons of imposed versus participative. So I've highlighted the pros and cons of imposed style of budgeting. Now I'm moving into participative budgeting. So let's look at what type of an answer you need to provide. So first things first, again, you are supposed to define what participative budgeting is, then mention the pros. Can access local knowledge. When everybody is involved with the budget setting process, you can listen to the local managers who are aware about their own local markets. So, we are in a position to access local knowledge. And when we are listening to low-level employees, it leads to motivation, a high level of motivation. And on top of that, the employees will be committed towards achieving the budgets. Why? Because the targets, based on the budgets only, we would stipulate the targets for each and every employee. So the employees know that they were involved with the decision-making process. Employees know that the targets which have been stipulated were decided after taking their opinions into consideration. So that leads to a higher level of commitment. Employees will be committed towards achieving the budgets. Okay, what are the drawbacks? It's time consuming because we are involving so many people in the budget setting process. It complicates decision making because every Tom, Dick, and Harry has a role to play. So we have to listen to so many people. That leads to conflicts, which leads to a high level of or the decision-making process becomes complicated. And on top of that, something called budgetary slack might come into the picture, or budget padding might come into the picture, where the low-level employees or managers would set budgets which are easily achievable, or setting budgets which are not too challenging or easily achievable is known as budgetary slack or budget padding. Okay, so that's the answer for the second part. So this is a question based on budgeting, which falls under the P1 syllabus. So all these things are highly theoretical answers. So you are supposed to come up with an answer plan for the second subtask. So that is done. Let's move on to the third subtask. Moreover, we have received special requests from ABC and XYZ, which are well-renowned trading companies which sell reconditioned industrial machines. So we have received some quotes from ABC and XYZ. What are these companies? They are involved with selling reconditioned industrial machines. And they are interested in purchasing 5 of our laser cutting machines. So we have laser cutting machines within our production process. So these guys are, interested in purchasing 5 of our old machines. I thought to do a cost-benefit analysis before selecting the preferred course of action as to whether we are going to sell the machines or whether we need to hold on to our machines. So before doing that, before taking the decision, our finance manager had conducted a cost-benefit analysis, and she has attached all the relevant information in the reference material. So in your exam, within the exam platform, there would be a button which says reference material. Once you click on it, you will gain access to reference material. So the reference material is provided here, information about the laser cutting machines. So number of laser cutting machines, 5 machines. What's the book value of these machines? $1 million. What's the annual depreciation? $100,000. The company has no intention to replace them with similar machines. So if we sell these 5 machines, we are not going to replace them with similar machines. Okay. And the present value of future cash flows amounts to $1.2 million. Okay. So if we keep on using these machines, we can generate cash flows amounting to $1.2 million. Okay. So that's the information. What's the quotation provided by ABC? Sell the machines at present conditions for $900,000. So ABC is saying, okay, we are ready to purchase your machines at the present condition, and we will give you $900,000. So let's look at the quotation provided by XYZ, the second seller. Sell the machines for $1.1 million after replacing rewinding shafts. So these guys are saying, okay, we are prepared to purchase the machines at 1.1 million. However, you will have to replace the rewinding shafts. to replace the rewinding shafts, it will cost $150,000 for 5 machines. So these guys are going to give us 1.1 million for the 5 machines, but we have to replace the rewinding shafts, and for this we are going to spend 150,000. So based on this information, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to carry out a relevant cost analysis and evaluate the decision, okay, whether to keep our laser cutting machines or sell them. So this question, this subtask comprises of 2 areas. Area number 1 is carrying out a relevant cost analysis, and area number 2 is recommending as to whether we need to keep the machine or sell the machine. So usually what happens is, if you do not stick to an answer planning technique, I told you that right after reading the question, majority of the students would end up typing the answer. Okay, so such students would miss out on the second part because they are in a rush. They are not spending some time to plan the answer. So don't do the same mistake. Instead, stick to an answer planning technique. Then you would figure out the 2 areas highlighted in the question. What are the 2 areas? Carry out a relevant cost analysis. Then you have to stipulate whether to keep the laser cutting machine or sell them. Okay, so based on this information, what type of an answer are you supposed to provide? Okay, relevant costing is a P1 related area. Okay, again, highly theoretical areas are tested, but you need to relate to the question. Okay, so first things first, you start your answer by defining what relevant costing is. So what are the characteristics as per what is stipulated under relevant costing? Future costs and revenues are considered to be relevant. Okay, incremental costs or revenues are considered to be relevant. Non-cash flow items are considered to be irrelevant. Okay, so you have stipulated the characteristics. Then relating to the task, you need to relate your answer to the task. So first things first, we are looking at this book value of $1 million. Book value is a sunk cost because we have already spent the money. Book value is the amount which is stipulated within our statement of financial position when we purchase this asset or when we purchased these assets. So the book value is a sunk cost, and the book value has already been incurred at purchase when we purchase these machines. So because of that, it's considered to be an irrelevant cost. Okay, depreciation is a non-cash flow item, so non-cash flow items are considered to be irrelevant. The present value of $1.2 million, what are you supposed to do with it? It's a relevant cost. Why? Because it's a future revenue which we are considering about. So the cash flow of $1.2 million is considered to be relevant. Then the quoted prices, quotations provided by ABC and XYZ. Okay, quoted prices are relevant. Why? Both the quoted prices are relevant because they are stipulating, or it gives us an indication about incremental cash flows. If we sell these machines, we will get cash onto our hands. So these are incremental cash flows. Because of that, both these quotes are considered to be relevant cash flows. So based on all this information, at the very end, you are supposed to do an evaluation. You are not supposed to just mention about whether each and every cost item or revenue item is relevant or not. You are supposed to carry out your evaluation at the end. So if we use the machine, it results in future cash flows of 1.2 million. From where did I get that? From the question itself, because if we keep on using the machine without selling it to someone, it results in future cash flows amounting to $1.2 million. Okay, use the machine, results in future cash flows of 1.2 million. So we are generating additional cash flows amounting to $250,000. How did I arrive at that figure? Because the best quotation is provided by XYZ. Why am I saying that they are providing the best quotation? Because they are saying, we are going to give you 1.1 million for the 5 machines, but you have to replace the rewinding shafts. So in order to replace the rewinding shafts, we are spending $150,000. Okay, so 1.1 million minus our expense of 150,000 comes up to $950,000. So if we sell our machines to XYZ, we end up getting 950,000. So compared to the quotation of ABC, we are at a better position, we are getting additional cash flows amounting to $50,000 if we sell to XYZ. So that's the best quotation which we are getting. So according to the two quotations, the best is provided by XYZ. And how much are these buggers going to give us? $950,000. Okay, comparing that to us, keeping the machine. If we keep the machine without selling it, it results in future cash flows amounting to $1.2 million. So that's exactly what I've stipulated here. So if we keep on using the machine, we would end up generating $1.2 million. And if we sell the machine, the best quotation is provided by XYZ, and these guys will give us 0.95 million or 950,000. So rather than selling it, if we keep the machine, it generates additional cash flows amounting to 250,000. So it's much more profitable. It makes financial sense for us to hold on to the machine rather than selling it. So because of that, I'm saying that it's prudent to use the machine rather than selling it. Okay, so now you have the answer structure for all three subtasks. Okay, and once you have the answer structure, it's a matter of expanding each and every point which you have made. For each and every point, you need to come up with a paragraph. And once you do that, you are providing a high quality answer in the exact way in which the examiner has stipulated you to do it, providing answers in paragraphs. Then you'd get extremely good marks at your exam. So what I would do is, what I would suggest is, I've highlighted how to develop an answer plan. Okay, so first things first, step number one is stipulating the question, steps in T&D, pros and cons, imposed versus participative, relevant costing, keep machines or sell. Okay, keep it simple. After coming up or identifying the questions, then move on to stipulating how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask based on the weightages provided in the question itself. Then it's a matter of developing an answer plan. So develop something like this, an answer structure. Spend some time to think and come up with a quality answer. And once you have the structure, it's a matter of just expanding each and every point. So when developing this answer structure or this answer plan, as I highlighted earlier, do it on the answer screen itself. Then you will not miss out on any of the points which I have mentioned. So once you spend 15 minutes to plan your answer, you need not think anymore. Utilizing the remaining 25 minutes, you are just supposed to type your answers. So there's no thinking involved when typing your answers. So you're not unduly worried. You are not providing answers out of stress. And on top of that, you are not headed in the wrong direction. Instead, you have spent some time to think, understand the exact requirement. Based on the exact requirement, you have spent some time to develop an answer plan. And after that, typing the answer is going to be extremely easy. But although I'm saying this, when you are doing it for the first time, you would find it extremely hard to manage your time. You would identify, you'd face a situation where to develop the answer plan for the entire task, you would take about 30 minutes. That's pretty basic. That's normal because you are doing it for the first time. So just don't get demotivated by it. You have 4 more mocks to go. Keep practicing this until you become a champion in it. Okay, so even if you screw up for the first time when you are doing mock number 1, even if you cannot stick to this time plan appropriately, if planning your answers takes up a lot of time, that's totally fine. What you need to do is, let's assume you do mock number 1 on a Tuesday. On a Saturday, you can practice developing answer plans. Time yourself and see whether you can develop an answer plan within 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, so keep on practicing until you become a champion in it. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do. I hope you guys understood what I highlighted. Any questions? Any questions, folks? Are you recommending? So a question had come through. To be clear, are you recommending we plan all subtasks first before we start typing our questions, typing your answers. Yes, exactly. So for each subtask, if there are 3 subtasks, for each subtask, you need to develop the answer plan, utilizing the first 20 minutes, then utilizing the remaining 25 minutes, you can flesh out the answer plan. I hope I addressed your concern, Alex. All right, superb. Any other questions? Any questions? Guys, I'll be, the session will be a bit longer than usual. I'll be taking an additional 15 minutes of your time. Extremely sorry about it, but I want to share or cover all the areas so that you benefit to the fullest from this session. Okay, right. Okay, so before we move on to the 4th part or the last part, I said in our answer plan, I've highlighted that you are supposed to, after attempting mock number 1 under simulated exam conditions, you are supposed to develop answer plans based on the suggested answer of mock 1. So what you do is you attempt mock number 1, and after attempting mock number 1, maybe on the next day, you can go through the suggested answer. So based on the suggested answer, develop something like this, a short note like this based on the suggested answer. So a suggested answer looks something like this. Okay, so based on the suggested answer, come up with a short note. So once you come up with the short note, what you can do is you can compare it to your own answer plan and figure out your shortcomings. Okay, so when it comes to training and development, mentioning the stages of training and development, if your answer plan consisted of just 3 main areas, if you had stipulated identifying training needs, training and development objectives, and planning, that's the entire answer. You have not mentioned about delivery and implementation as well as evaluation. Then what you are doing is you are comparing your answer to the answer plan which you have developed based on the suggested answer. So through the suggested answer, you are learning. Okay, you have an answer structure in place, then you can see the logic of the entire answer. You can see how each and every point is connected to each other. So you are understanding the logic of the answer, and on top of that, you are revising theory through the question, because this part is something to do with E1, training and development cycle. So you are learning what the training and development cycle is through the question itself, because once you go through the answer plan, rather than reading through pages and pages of answers, if you look at this answer starts here and it goes on for something like 1.5 pages. So rather than going through 1.5 pages of answers, in one single place, in one single page, you have the entire answer. So it's easier. It makes your life easier, because you can easily revise theoretical content based on this. For instance, if you look at these budgeting styles, the answer plan for budgeting styles, the pros and cons of imposed and participative budgeting is here. You need not refer back to your tudes. You need not prepare short notes based on P1 related areas. The short note is already there. Okay, so once you have, for each and every mock, once you have the answer plan based on the suggested answer of each and every mock, it's as if you have answer plans for 4 into 5, 20 tasks. So you should have 20 answer plans. And once you have these 20 answer plans, closer to the exam, I've suggested 6th November to the exam date, I've suggested you to refer to the answer plans of all 5 mocks. Okay, so you have 5 or 20 answer plans at your disposal. Rather than going through pages and pages of answers, you have a short note based on each and every suggested answer. So you are revising, your revising becomes easier. So closer to the exam, you can go through all the suggested answers within just 2 or 3 hours. Okay, so your life becomes easier. So I want you to stick to this plan, because if you stick to this plan, you'd get extremely good marks. For instance, you know, out of the students which I taught last time, three of the students stuck to my study plan. They were constantly, communicating with me, getting my feedback. They stuck to the plan which we provided, and these guys ended up getting marks which were above 100. So the pass mark is 800. One of the students got 103, the other 102, and the third student got 100 marks. Okay, why did they achieve this type of marks? Because they stuck to the plan. They replicated the exact same methodology. They practiced the answer planning technique. They after attempting each and every mock, they developed answer plans based on the suggested answer. So they were conversant with the theoretical areas, and as well as they were conversant about how to apply the knowledge in the questions, in the answers rather. And on top of that, they were able to manage their time appropriately and come up with high quality answers. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do. So having said that, there might be students who are who had failed the exam previously. So how are you supposed to bounce back from failure? Before I do that, a question had come through: when do we need to hand in the mock for marking? When we hand in our mock, how long will it be before getting feedback? So you are supposed to, Alex, since you have if I'm not mistaken, you have invested on the Value Plus package. So because of that, you have the ability of attending all 5 mocks on our exam platform itself. So according to the plan, just stick to the plan. Okay. According to the plan, you are supposed to start attempting mocks from this week onwards, but we are providing feedback for 3 of our mocks, 3, 4, and 5. So you are supposed to attempt mock number 3 in week number 4. So let's assume you attempt the mock on a Tuesday. Within 48 hours, we'll be providing feedback. So if you attempt the mock on Tuesday, by Thursday, you will have feedback within the exam platform itself. You are simply supposed to download the feedback and figure out what your shortcomings are. Okay, so you are supposed to start from the 4th week, but that's with regards to mock number 3, but you can start attempting mock number 1 from this week onwards. And we provide feedback within 48 hours. Right. So what are you supposed to do this time? So you can't keep on failing all the time. What are you supposed to do to pass the exam in your next sitting? You need to figure out whether you gave your best or not. You need to conduct your own personal reflection. You have to be honest to yourself. You need to figure out how long you dedicated or how long you prepared or how much time you dedicated for preparations. I know for a fact that the majority of the students, 99% of students, start preparations 2 weeks or a week before the exam. Then your chances of passing the exam is extremely low. I know for a fact that most of the students lack an understanding about theoretical content, especially if you're coming through an exemption route. So many students are coming through the exemption route, such as the FLP system. So in such a context, what happens is these guys lack an understanding about theoretical content and end up failing the exam. Okay, or else you might not have practiced enough mock exams, because as I highlighted earlier, in order to become a champion at answer planning, in order to manage your time appropriately, you need to practice the answer planning technique. You need to practice typing answers. You need to practice at least 5 mock exams, exam standard mock exams, and when attempting these mock exams, you need to attempt them under real exam conditions. Okay, if you did not do it, then you might have failed the exam. So you need to do your own personal reflection and figure out what went wrong in the exam, where you went wrong in the exam. You need to diagnose the reasons first and address each and every reason this time, or else your chances of passing the exam is extremely low. Refer to the mini mock and suggested answers as well as the examiner's report to figure out the quality of answers which you're supposed to provide. And if you had invested on our products, then by referring to the suggested answers, you are in a position to figure out for each and every syllabus area or each and every question, what type of an answer you are supposed to provide. And did you get feedback on your mock exam answer scripts last time? If not, and if you ended up failing or getting marks below 70, then it is recommended to opt for personalized tutor feedback, or else you'd keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Thereby you'd end up failing the exam on multiple locations. And based on identifying or diagnosing your problems, you need to come up with an action plan where you should tell yourself to work harder and smarter than the previous attempt. Okay, so what are the common reasons for failure? Practicing just 2 or 3 mocks. Most students think by practicing 2 or 3 mocks, you can easily pass the exam. You are just conning yourself. That is not the case. You need to practice at least 5 exam standard mock exams. And when practicing mock exams, don't do small tasks or subtasks. Instead, you need to do full 3-hour mocks. You need to get accustomed to an exam situation. Why am I highlighting this? Because the CIMA exam is extremely competitive. It's a time pressured exam. It's not easy. It's not like some other educational qualification. This is a professional qualification. So your stress management skills are tested as well. So in order to manage stress at your real exam, you need to practice at least 5 exam standard mock exams. Okay, so if this was your problem, the solution is practicing 5 exam standard mocks. Okay, not practicing mocks under simulated exam conditions. Even if you had access to 5 mock exams, if you did not attempt them under exam conditions, then there's a tendency for you to fail the exam, because you are not accustomed to sitting in one place and doing the entire paper within 3 hours. Okay, so I know for a fact, even if you have access to exam standard mocks, since it has 4 sections, you would take 45 minutes and attempt one section today. Then you'd attempt section number 2 tomorrow, then section number 3 day after. That's not how you're supposed to attempt your mock exams. You need to sit in one place, isolate yourself, find a place where you won't be disturbed, and attempt the entire mock in one sitting. Okay, and your life becomes easier if you go for the value pack or the value plus package, because under these 2 packages you will get access to the exam platform. So when attempting your mock exams, you can get yourself accustomed to the exam platform, because we at TCS has developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system, which you would be exposed to at the real exam. So before walking into the real exam, you are attempting all your 5 mocks under real exam conditions via a similar platform. So that's going to be extremely beneficial for you at the real exam. So that's the problem and the solution for that. And lack of technical knowledge pertaining to E1, F1, and P1, especially students who are coming through the exemption route, or if you are exempted from F1 or P1, or if you are coming through the FLP route, you might lack technical knowledge. Majority of these students who are coming through the exemption route lack technical knowledge. So how are you supposed to cover the theoretical content within a short period of time? Simply refer to the revision cards which we are providing for E1, P1, and F1. And on top of that, as part of the plus packages, we have introduced 2 packages, Essential Plus and Value Plus packages. Under these packages, we are providing video lectures where I'm explaining the answers for mocks 3, 4, and 5. Just like I explained the answers tonight, I am explaining the answers, the entire answer of mocks 3, 4, and 5. And whilst explaining this answer, I'll be highlighting the theoretical area or what you need to cover. Where, for instance, if it's a variance analysis related question, I'll be highlighting which points you need to cover. And on top of that, I'll be providing guidance on decrypting mocks and suggested answers. So these are the two packages, plus package, the essential plus and the value plus. So if you feel that you lack a proper level of knowledge about theoretical content, then you have to go for the essential plus or the value plus, because through these videos you will be covering theories. So we don't believe in teaching theory separately. Instead, based on the question papers itself, I am teaching theories. Okay, so I've mentioned here, recommended for students coming through the exemption route, such as the FLP route, or students who had failed the exam previously. So that's what you need to go for. Okay, and so that's that. And shortcomings in application of knowledge. Example, for instance, suggesting KPIs. So if there is a shortcoming when it comes to applying knowledge, how can you improve your answers? One thing you can do is, I asked you to develop answer plans based on the suggested answers. So by doing that, you are in a position to see what type of answers you are supposed to provide and how to apply your knowledge, especially when it comes to suggesting key performance indicators. When suggesting KPIs, try to ensure that you are fulfilling the SMART characteristics. The KPI needs to be specific to the problem highlighted. The KPI should be measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay, so I've highlighted these things. I've covered all the KPIs in my questions, and in my answer discussion videos as well, I've highlighted these points, so you can refer to them. Inappropriate answering technique, you can get rid of it by sticking to the answer planning technique which I stipulated tonight. So keep practicing it until you become a champion in it, until you can develop an answer plan for the entire mock within 15 minutes. Okay, and mismanagement of time, again, this can be avoided by sticking to an answer plan. Okay, because if you stick to an answer plan, you are taking 20 minutes to read and plan the answer, and the remaining 25 minutes are utilized to type the answer, then you are never going to run out of time. So you need to keep on practicing, keep practicing this. And lack of evaluation could be a problem. So in order to overcome this problem, what you need to do is you need to compare your answer with the suggested answer. So there's an easier way to do this. Instead of comparing your answer to the suggested answer, once you develop an answer plan based on the suggested answer, you have the entire answer structure in one single page. So it makes your life, or it makes it easier for you to compare your answer and see what your shortcomings are. So you need to do it on your own. Okay, there's some type of self-learning involved. So you need to do it on your own to figure out what your shortcomings are, and not adhering to a study plan. That's a killer as well. As I highlighted earlier, most students start preparing 2 weeks or a week before the exam. That's not recommended. You are headed towards disaster. Instead, stick to the study plan which we have provided. We have made your life easier. Nobody else provides a study plan and integrate study plan. So just stick to it, and you would be amazed about the results which you would get. And on top of that, if you failed last time, I would suggest or recommend to go for one-to-one tutor feedback. That's exactly what you would get if you go for the value pack or the value plus package, because under the value pack, there's professional marking and one-to-one tutor feedback on 3 mocks. And on top of that, you can attempt all 5 mocks on our online mock exam platform, and you would be getting your hands on the theory recap slides. What's the difference between the value pack and the value plus package? On top of all these things, you will be getting 6+ hours of video lectures where I'm explaining mocks 3, 4, and 5. So you'll be learning theory out of these videos. And on top of that, you'll be learning how to apply your knowledge when providing answers at the OCS exam. Okay, so I invite you guys to go visit our website, go to our OCS page, and check out our sample material before investing on our products. If you are interested in investing on our products, before purchasing, check out our sample material. All the type of material which are provided, samples are provided. So after that only I'm inviting you guys to purchase our material. And if you are not part of our tutor-led OCS WhatsApp discussion forum, you can simply click on this button and join it and go through the FAQ sections as well if you have further questions pertaining to what we are offering. And you can access free content by even if you are not planning to invest on our products, that's totally fine. Access our free content where you would get your hands on the mini mock, the suggested answer, as well as this answer plan, which I utilized tonight. So I'll be sharing this answer plan, answer planning technique, this document via the WhatsApp group as well, and this will be uploaded onto our website under the free content. And on top of that, all the recorded versions of the webinars will appear under the free content under our website. Okay, so that's the package information. And please remember that we are offering an early bird discount, where we are offering a 10% discount, and utilize it right now because it's utilize it right now because it expires on the 7th of October, which is next Friday. So if you are planning to use this discount, do it before next Friday because it's only available until next Friday. So this discount code OCS10, use it in the checkout area to utilize this discount. And another thing is all these packages are available until the 28th of February 2023. So even if you end up failing the exam, and or if you are planning to do the exam in February, then you are not supposed to purchase it twice. Instead, you do the investment right now, and you can utilize it until the end of February 2023. Okay, until the next fresh pre-scene is out. Okay, so having said that, it brings us to the end of tonight's session. If you have any questions, Abdul is asking a question. Do you provide study packages for objective papers? No, we are specializing only on the case study. We don't handle OTQs. Any other questions, folks? Any questions? We, spoke about so many areas, covered so many areas. Any questions?
I just have a question. Yeah, I have a question on the value pack, the value plus pack. So yeah, for the 5 mocks, I know you marking 3 of the mocks. Yeah. But for the first 2 mocks, do we have access to the exam platform to attempt those for 1 and 2 without getting it marked, or how should we attempt that on our own?
Yeah, so it's something like this. If you go for the value pack or the value plus package, you will have access to the exam platform where all 5 mocks can be attempted on the platform itself. Okay.
Okay.
But perfect. Feedback will only be provided for mocks 3, 4, and 5. So the first 2 mocks are there to get your bearings and get yourself accustomed to the exam structure, the answer planning technique, the exam platform, and whatnot. And once you are done with it, from mock 3 to 5, things get serious. That's where we provide feedback.
All right, perfect. Understood. Thank you.
Welcome. Abul Hassan, do you have any suggestions with regards to what? OTQs, yeah. Suggestions are you need to go through the entire syllabus, and after that you need to practice OTQs. Again, there's a time plan which you need to adhere to. I'm not going to highlight the time plan in here. Instead, just drop me a message, just DM me, or because my number can be found on the WhatsApp group. Just DM me, then I'll give you a time plan with regards to how you are supposed to tackle the OTQs, because OTQs is always about how you manage your time. Most students run out of time, but if you stick to my plan, then you'd have enough and more time to attempt all questions. Any other questions or doubts, folks? All right, so if you're comfortable with 100% self-learning, go for the essential pack. If you feel like you need one-to-one tutor support, go for the value pack. And if you're comfortable with self-learning, but you feel that or if you're coming through the FLP route, or if you had failed the exam, go for the essential plus, and you should go for the value plus, especially if you're coming through the exemption route, or if you had failed, because by going for the value plus package, you will get your hands on the OTQ revision cards. You can attempt all 5 mocks under the exam platform, and you'd get feedback for 3 mocks, and you will have video tutorials where I'll be explaining the answers for mocks 3, 4, and 5. Okay, another question came through. Thank you for the session. You're welcome, Alex. So you can contact us via our website, or simply drop us an email or WhatsApp us, or follow us on our social media handles. I invite you guys to go to our website and go to the blog post area and check out our blogs, because it's going to be extremely beneficial for you. All the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to CIMA case study exams are highlighted within the blog post. So please go check it out. So having said that, it brings us to the end of tonight's session. So thank you very much for joining in. Remember, the coming 2 weeks, this week as well as the next week, are extremely important, because you are supposed to start attempting mocks. Attempt mock number 1 this week itself, and move on to mock number 2 in the next week. And if you come across any question, we are there to any problem, we are there to help you. Even if you're not utilizing our services, our mocks and study material, that's totally fine. If you are encountering any type of problem, please get in touch with us. Drop me a message, direct message me, or drop a message via our WhatsApp discussion forum. We are happy to help you guys out, because our objective is to ensure that somehow you guys end up finishing or clearing this hurdle. Okay, so having said that, I'm gonna end the session. So thank you very much for joining in, guys. Have a pleasant weekend. Good night and take care.